All right, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Let's hope that the audio is working well. Sometimes there's technical difficulties when we do these things. It's been a little while because members of Congress have been back in their home districts. And I'll just start with that and say thank you. Thank you for the honor of being able to represent our community again. I always tell people the seat that I hold is not my seat. It's your seat. It's the seat of we the people. And I just have the opportunity to sit in it for a period of time, and it is an absolute honor to be able to be given that responsibility. In that, as we always tell people, like I said, like, subscribe if you want to know when we're going to do these live Q&As, and let's get on to some of the issues of the day, answer a couple questions, and then we'll start thinking about what's going on for Thanksgiving with our families in Turkey and things like that as we see that off onto the horizon. But number one, want to start with Russia, Ukraine, NATO, what went on with missiles striking in a NATO ally, Poland, and problems with that. And you all have heard me speak in length about the fact that in so many places, your government that I see on a daily basis is just derelict in preparing in the way that we should for national security objectives, thinking those out not just weeks or months, but years in advance, like our adversaries are doing, like China is planning out for 50 and 100 years in advance. These are things that the United States of America is woefully behind on, unfortunately. And I think this is something we saw play out with the strikes of these missiles into Poland. And here is why I say that. So we use this term concepts of operation. And when we say a concept of operation, what it means is that somebody's sitting in a room somewhere saying, if this contingency happens, then the United States of America response will be XYZ. It will be this. Or if this happens, then we'll do this. Or if this happens, then we'll do this. And we come up with these concepts of operation so that when something like a missile strike coming out of the Ukraine territory into a NATO ally happens, we already know what our response is going to be. We don't have to fumble around, twiddle our thumbs, be in this moment of chaos. We have a ladder of escalation that we know we're going to execute on. It was very evident and clear that that did not exist. And among the most likely scenarios that could happen with the Russia and Ukraine war that has been waging, one of the most likely scenarios is that a bomb or a missile or something be a collateral incident that go into a close NATO territory, especially when they are waging war on the borders of NATO countries. But we saw the administration scrambling, not knowing what the response was going to be. And it's because they didn't have those concepts of operation that they should be executing on. There's a failure of planning, just like there's been a failure of planning for spending your $40 billion that was sent to the Ukraine. And now the administration's asking for another $35 billion to send to Ukraine when they have no discernible plan about whether they want Russian nuclear demilitarization or demilitarized zones along Russia-NATO borders, or whether Russia has to even get out of Ukraine or Crimea, Georgia, Syria, all places that they have these presence in, whether there has to be war crime tribunals for Vladimir Putin or generals in their military or anywhere else. And the list goes on and on. There are not national security objectives that are being executed on for us to go out there and say, yes, U.S. treasure, U.S. assets, U.S. personnel are going to be put in danger, and really the globe, because we are in a situation where there is a lack of planning in this moment of time that none of us can say that there is 0% chance of nuclear war. And that should be startling to every one of us. So that's a little bit of my thoughts on Russia, Ukraine, what's going on that. I want to move to another issue, and this is a little bit more of an inside the Beltway issue, in the weeds issue of Washington, D.C., and the internal politics of what goes on for people maneuvering to be the Speaker of the House of Representatives or the conference chair or the conference secretary or chairman of this and chairman of this committee. Those things are all behind the scenes, internal workings before there's actually a vote on the floor of the House of Representatives. But I wanted to give an explanation on why that matters to you all. Because when you look, we'll use the Speaker of the House as an example right now. The Speaker of the House has a great deal of power, whether it's a Republican or Democrat. The Speaker of the House will ultimately decide what bills come to the floor of the House of Representatives. So I used this as an example the other day when I was speaking about it. And I said, if you're frustrated by the fact that a term limits bill has not been passed, well, I can tell you, I haven't even had the opportunity to vote on a term limits bill. When I first came into Congress, elected in 2016, we were promised by Paul Ryan at the time in January of 17 that we would have a term limits bill to vote on by June of 17. Guess what? It never happened, right? That was something that was never brought to the floor of the House. And it hasn't been brought to the floor of the House by the unified Democrat government. And it hasn't been brought to the floor of the House by unified Republican government. But that goes to the Speaker of the House not bringing it there. So that's an example of the power that they have. They're going to work to choose the chairman or chairwoman of the committees of various committees: Foreign Affairs, Ways and Means, Transportation and Infrastructure, Energy and Commerce. And that's all going to have a great deal to do with what policy actually moves forward, what border policy moves forward, what immigration policy moves forward, what investigations move forward on the Judiciary or the Oversight Committee on Hunter Biden or on anything else. Those things all go through the Speaker of the House. So those internal workings of what happens in this week, next week, and this time before all the new members are sworn in, it really matters on that front for how the policy is driven over the course of the next 2 years. So I wanted to give you all a little bit on that inside baseball. I want to give you one other quick update, and that's an update on Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Nicole, and the appropriations process, supplemental assistance coming into Florida or not coming into Florida yet. And to give a quick update on that, I mentioned before that Democrats, when they recently funded the government, they funded the government until December 16. Now, leading into that, there's going to be a massive fight for how the government is funded thereafter. Obviously, Republicans are moving into the majority. Democrats will still be in the majority until January 3rd. So between that December 16 and January 3rd, you can count on the fact that they're going to try to put forward, let's say, a year's worth, another 12 months of government funding in the way that they want to see it take place. Obviously, us as Republicans are not going to want to see it take place. We have different priorities. We're not going to see it want to take place in the same way. And they're likely going to try to attach some of that assistance for Hurricane Ian or Hurricane Nicole or other things to bad budget policies, bad appropriations policies that we are not going to agree with. And there's going to be a very big fight on all of this, in my opinion, going between December 16 and January 3, and maybe even thereafter. So that's a little bit of an update on what's going on with that. I want to go to some questions. I want to give one other update on hurricanes: Hurricane Nicole, Hurricane Ian. And this goes to really the number one thing that we do in our office. So I always tell people, number one thing that we do in our office is help people back home. It's help individuals, it's help businesses. So if you're a small business and your restaurant got flooded or something happened with roof damage or something else that you need help with the Small Business Administration, reach out to our office. If the Small Business Administration didn't answer your phone call in enough rings and it ticked you off, call our office. We'll help you through that. If you're an individual and you need assistance, call our office with FEMA or another agency, or you're a veteran and you need help with the VA, or a senior and you need help with Social Security. It is the number one thing that we do, is help you all with federal government agencies, no matter how small the problem might seem or how large the problem might seem. That is the number one thing that we do. So please make sure to put us to task on that and reach out. So in that, let's go to some questions and see what people have today, see what the staff throws out there. And okay, so here's the first one. Ukraine just voted against our ally Israel in the United Nations. Why are we sending the Ukraine billions of dollars when we need it here in the United States of America? I agree with you, right? So to back up, I can't remember if I said this or not. I didn't vote to send $40 billion to the Ukraine, and I'm not going to vote to send $35 billion to the Ukraine. I do believe that they are a sovereign nation. I do not believe Vladimir Putin should be sending his military into their country. I do believe that we have NATO Article 5 commitments that we should uphold, just like NATO upheld those for us when we were attacked on 9/11. But as I said, We are not being strategic. We are not planning. There is no foresight whatsoever that is going on into the billions of dollars that are being sent over to Ukraine to accomplish national security objectives for we, the people of the United States of America. This isn't a benevolent fund of U.S. taxpayer dollars where the government should be looking at this and just saying, well, what good could we go around the world and do with some U.S. taxpayer monies? There are good things that you can do, but it's not a benevolent fund. It's not charity. It is your money. And again, I don't look at this as a situation that your money in the tune of these billions of dollars should be sent in that way. And that's why I haven't voted on it. Can I tell you that all of my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will be of the same mind? No, but this is how I feel about it. And you will continue to see me vote accordingly. So let's go to the next question. Can you talk about your Service Academy physical fitness event at the Navy SEAL Museum? Absolutely. One of my favorite things to do every year is to nominate our young people that want to go to West Point, the Army's Academy, West Point, the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, the Merchant Marine Academy. We invite the Coast Guard Academy to come join us, where you need a congressional sponsorship to go out there in part of your application process to be admitted. So we conduct our selection and assessment at the Navy SEAL Museum in Fort Pierce, Florida. I don't make it a secret what we expect out of the young people that are coming to assess and select. We are looking at your academics. We are looking at your extracurricular activities, your volunteer work in the community. We are looking at the kind of person that you are. We're going to put you through the ringer. We're going to make sure that you're physically fit because you're asking to be in the military, and not just be in the military, but go in the military and come out a leader of others, a leader of enlisted personnel coming out as an officer. It's a very big deal. It's a very big responsibility. If you want to know where to go to find more information on that, go to mast.house.gov/service-academy. And what was the rest of it? Dash nominations. So let me say that one more time. mast.house.gov/service-academy-nominations, and you'll be able to get our information that we put out there on it. But we're going to make you run. We're going to make you do the Army's physical fitness test, which has things like squats and throwing a heavy bag and dragging things around. You're going to be running on the beach. That's shouldn't be a surprise to you. We're going to be at the Navy SEAL Museum on the beach. We're going to put you through an obstacle course. We want to see how you react. We want to see that you don't quit, that you have a can-do attitude, that you're everything that we want and expect individuals asking to be military leaders be. Show us the kind of person that you are. And we look forward to meeting you all and recommending you all because it really is a fun process. And the parents of the young people assessing and selecting are always welcome there as well. So let's go to another question from Julian here. As the owner of the Hard Axe Lounge in downtown Fort Pierce, I've been there and it's fun. It's been a very tough season for business owners. What type of help can you provide to local and small business owners to drive more business our way to help offset the rising cost due to inflation? So there's a number of things that we need to deal with inflation. There's been estimates to say that you are all one paycheck or two paychecks short this year because of the rate of inflation, the amount that you're having to spend more on everything. I think that number one, in terms of policy, things that you'll be looking at as we move into the majority of the House of Representatives, changing energy policy will be a huge part of that to reduce those energy costs. Not just fuel costs so that you can drive things cheaper from A to B, but also if you're in Fort Pierce, you're under the Fort Pierce Utility Authority. The natural gas costs for Fort Pierce Utility Authority and what they're paying for that natural gas is probably about 10 times what they were paying a year to a year and a half ago. Working to have energy policy where that becomes less means that your energy costs to run the air conditioning, in your building there is that much less. So your costs are less at that point. That's another example of where we make those things less. Tax policy, codifying the things that we put into the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act into permanent law so that you can have less taxes as a small business. There's a host of things that we can be doing. I love Fort Pierce. Fort Pierce is my hometown. It's where we live. It's where we worship. It's where we like to play and go to the beach and have fun. And so I think it's a great town. And as I said, I've enjoyed being in your place of business. Everybody in my family has enjoyed being in there, from my wife all the way down to my little kids. And truthfully, I think we'll look forward to coming back in there one of these days soon. So I think we got time for one more question, is what I'm being told. Let's do one more question. And again, if y'all have any questions, don't hesitate to call our office, write our office, email our office, put us to task on helping you with government agencies. Number one thing that we do. So here we go from Frank. Can we do something about the military that were purged because of vaccination? 100%. So there have been bills that I have been on for the last year at least that would say members of the military that were given the boot, had their careers ended because they didn't want to get a vaccine, would be reinstated into the military, would have their time and grade updated to the time that they lost because of when they got kicked out. They would continue to hold their rank, different bills about back pay, things like that. These are all things that we have looked at. Clearly, Nancy Pelosi has not wanted to move those things through the House of Representatives. That goes back to what I spoke about already about the power of the Speaker of the House and then bringing what they want to the floor of the House of Representatives. She didn't do that. They didn't bring it to the floor of the Senate either. I would have voted yes on those things. I think it's very unlikely that President Biden will sign bills like that into law, but are we working on it? Yes, we are absolutely working on it, and it is something that I believe in. And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to make one last point, just simply about what I believe the way the floor of the House should be operating so that you can know the things that we do. And quite often here in Washington, the bills that we have are thousands of pages. Or they're convoluted, where they take something related to border and then something related to military personnel getting kicked out and something related to water policy or something else, and it all gets jammed into one bill. In my opinion, what we owe to you, to the people across the country, is to give you simple, straightforward legislation that you can know, did your member of Congress vote up or down on that issue? And then it goes over to the Senate, and I don't get to say so about it. I don't get to say whether they package it with other things or not. I don't get to decide whether they pass it or not. But for my lane, for my role, I hope that you get to know, did your representative vote yes or no on this one item on immigration policy, on this one item on border security, on this one item about military personnel having to get vaccinations or not, or getting kicked out, and the list goes on and on. Not have you have to dive through these 1,000-page bills to barely be able to understand what actually occurred. I think you are owed that. I would like to see that happen. I will be fighting to make that happen. I wish that I could sit here and guarantee to you that that will 100% be the case. I would be lying to you if I said that was a guarantee, but that is what I will be fighting for. So in that, I'll tell you all again, if you want to know when we're going to do these live Q&As, like, subscribe, love to answer your questions. Call our office if there's anything that we can do to assist you. Write our office, email us. We will do everything that we can. We've helped individuals with needing people to be extradited from other places in the world, helping people get visas. Passports are one of the biggest things that we help people with because it always seems to come down to the last minute. Recommendations for the military and service academies and officer candidate school, help with Department of Veterans Affairs and Social Security Administration and Small Business Administration and IRS and anything else that you can imagine. If it touches the federal sphere, call us and let us be of assistance to you. In that, again, it's an honor. I wish you all the best, and I look forward to seeing you all around home.